On September 22nd, 1999, Capcom released Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. This marked the first appearance of the Samurai Edge pistol. And when the remake of Resident Evil was released on the GameCube 3 years later, the Samurai Edge pistol became firmly cemented as a video game firearm icon.
A dining room.
I mean, look at it. It's cool. It's really cool. The exposed stainless steel barrel. The 2-piece wood and rubber grips with stars medallions. The strong profile and extra thick slide. So, what is the Samurai Edge? Well, it's a modified Beretta 92 Brigadier in 9mm with a stainless steel barrel designed for an elite team with the ability to provide rapid, accurate fire. What's this thing I just found? Oh, it's a Beretta 92G Brigadier Elite. What's that, you ask? Well, it's a modified Beretta 92 Brigadier in 9mm with a stainless steel barrel designed for an elite team with the ability to provide rapid, accurate fire. Interesting! I have had an obsession with the Samurai Edge pistol since I played the Resident Evil remake in 2002, and in doing as much research as I can on the subject, I have become convinced that Ernest Langdon, USPSA Grandmaster, owner of Langdon Tactical, and former leader of the Beretta USA shooting team, inadvertently created the Samurai Edge. Just a word of warning, this video is basically me obsessively rambling about tiny details on a fictional gun that is mostly based on a real-life gun. If that's the kind of thing that you're into, then this video is for you. None of this video is sponsored, and everything that appears I've paid for with my own money, because I really like the Samurai Edge pistol. This is the Samurai Edge as it appears in Resident Evil, and it's really the first time we get a good look at one. I'm not saying that Resident Evil 3 looks bad, but the in-game image for the Samurai Edge isn't exactly high resolution. This is what I'm going to be using as the baseline for what the Samurai Edge is, as it's pretty much the same as its Resident Evil 3 counterpart, though there are variations that we'll get to later. Interestingly, the Samurai Edge wasn't actually in the original release of Resident Evil. The handgun in that game is, incorrectly, referred to as a Beretta M92 FS, even though it would either be an M9 or a 92 FS. According to the History of the Samurai Edge handgun document released by Tokyo Marui, who does most of the weapons advisement on the Resident Evil games, the Samurai Edge pistol was designed in 1997 by Joseph Kendo to meet the following requirements: be chambered in 9mm and capable of handling hotter plus P ammunition. Have a magazine capacity of at least 13 rounds. Have fixed 3-dot iron sights for durability and quick sight acquisition. Be capable of producing a 2-inch group at 25 yards and maintain that accuracy after 3,000 rounds. Be capable of double action trigger pull. Have an ambidextrous safety. And weigh less than 35 ounces, or 1,000 grams for my non-Freedom Unit viewers. And Joseph Kendo absolutely knocked it out of the park. I mean, that's because it was actually designed by Ernest Langdon, but we'll get to that, I promise. It features a stainless steel barrel, which Beretta refers to as Inox. Inox is actually a French abbreviation for inoxydable, meaning stainless steel. I apologize for my absolute butchering of the French language. See, you're learning things about other languages now, isn't that neat? The stainless steel barrel makes cleaning much easier than on a normal blued barrel, and offers superior corrosion and wear resistance. And yes, theoretically, it does offer more accuracy and is capable of retaining that accuracy over a longer period as opposed to a chrome-lined barrel, but the argument of stainless versus chromoly is way too far into the weeds for this already niche discussion on a video game handgun. Increased accuracy and wear resistance are both really good things if you're trying to make a handgun that can fire thousands of rounds of berries, pissin' hot hand loads while still maintaining accuracy. I mean, look at the size of the muzzle flash coming off of this 9mm. What the hell is Barry loading these things with? This slide is a Brigadier slide, which is originally designed to handle the higher power of the 40 Smith & Wesson cartridges fired in the Beretta 96, but Beretta found that it could easily body the hotter plus P 9mm rounds, as well as hold up through a higher round count than the standard slide. You can generally identify the Brigadier slide by the fact that it is thicker than the standard slide. as well as the two large bulges located at the midpoints of the slide, which is where the locking block for the barrel is located. While this was intended to increase durability, it has the added benefit of helping control felt recoil. Though you probably wouldn't think that watching how the characters in-game shoot their guns. Well, except for Wesker.
Chris, this way!
It also features two forward cocking serrations as well as dovetailed front and rear sights. These two additions were huge for the time. Forward cocking serrations weren't super common on handguns quite yet. They were a thing, they just weren't as ubiquitous as they are now. They were primarily used in competition shooting, which is most likely how they ended up on the Samurai Edge. Also, the standard Beretta 92 completely lacked a replaceable front sight. Typically, they were just machined into the slide, which did increase durability, but that meant that you were now stuck with whatever it came with from the factory. Some type of trigger work has been done to the pistol, and while I can't find any specifics on pull weight, it would be pretty silly to assume that the Samurai Edge retained the stock trigger of the Beretta 92, especially considering that Barry is a gun nut and Chris is a competition shooter. The guide rod has been replaced with a stainless steel guide rod, as opposed to the parkerized or blued one that it traditionally ships with. Although at the time it could have been a plastic guide rod, because those did exist. Again, the stainless steel component increases durability. To me, the grip panels are actually really interesting. They're wood panels with hard rubber or plastic inserts to increase grip. The most interesting thing about them, though, is that they extend to the base of the grip and act as a magazine well to facilitate faster reloading. This did require removal of the lanyard loop. Interestingly, I'm pretty sure you can still see the lanyard loop in the Resident Evil 3 image, but it's very low resolution, so I could be mistaken on that. All of these things, like forward cocking serrations, lightened trigger, magazine well, they're all things that we kind of take for granted today and assume that they'll just be included on a combat handgun. But for 1998, these things were on the bleeding edge of pistol technology. An edge so sharp you might even refer to it as a samurai edge.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, there are minor variations to the Samurai Edge handgun, even though most of those variants don't appear until later in the series. Capcom is kind of bad about just like retconning and changing stuff. In addition to the changes in between these variants, they all feature different colored medallions, which are usually the color of the character's vest in the game. Jill's pistol is what I would consider to be the standard, or at least as standard as a custom-made small batch pistol can be. And that's primarily because the only difference I can note between the standard version and Jill's version is that hers has different colored medallions and it lacks the extended slide stock. It's also the only Samurai Edge pistol we see in the GameCube remake besides Wesker's, as Chris loses his version at the beginning and then picks up Jill's from the floor of the mansion lobby. Speaking of Chris's pistol is different in that it has a blued slide, which leads me to believe all the other Samurai Edge pistols are probably the standard Brunneton finish offered by Beretta. Supposedly, this is to, quote, prevent dimensional changes caused by the thickness of the coating. Which, okay. It also features a silver-plated trigger that has just the right amount of slippage to allow for perfect trigger operation. I used Google Translate to translate this, so I'm going to assume that they meant chrome-plated or maybe NP3 coated, and that is a mistranslation. Generally, coating gun parts in silver isn't really done to improve trigger pull, but chrome plating or NP3 coating would actually improve the smoothness of trigger pull. Barry's pistol is chambered in .40 Smith & Wesson, and this is supposedly because Barry is particular about large caliber guns and high power.
I like the buddy system we have here.
I see.
It is customized to handle plus P ammunition and features a massive 4-port compensator, an underbarrel counterweight, and a Weber-sized rail at the bottom for laser sights or flashlights. Again, I'm gonna make some presumptions and assume that they meant Weaver rail, which is basically the standard before Picatinny that had only been standardized in '95. Also, I know I said we only see Jill and Wesker's Samurai Edge pistols in the GameCube remake, but you can unlock Barry's pistol in New Game Plus. We just never see him using it in the game. Probably because he's too busy with his .44 mag. And look, don't hate on Barry too much for using a 40. He's a cop in the 1990s. They thought 40 was the coolest thing since sliced bread back then. You can get mad at him for this, though.
That was a close one. A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Finally, Wesker's pistol is 100% pure Fantasyland anachronism. Outside of cutscenes, there's not a model of it that we can look at in the 2002 remake, but there is the official Tokyo Marui version, and ones that are added to other Resident Evil games. It has a stainless steel frame, with a dust cover that extends to the end of the slide, checkering on the front and back of the frame, a massive beaver tail, extended slide release, and the Elite style skeletonized hammer. On the topic of anachronisms, Capcom kind of introduces more and more as time goes on. For example, in the Resident Evil 2 remake, Jill's variant has been turned into an M9A1 version, which didn't exist until 2006 when it was adopted by the US Marine Corps. It features a Picatinny rail as well as checkering on the frame instead of the normal, just straight serrations. And a lot of the time, they aren't even consistent with how the Samurai Edge appears in different games. In the remake of 3, okay, I know. In the remake of 3, Jill's pistol has the nickel-plated trigger that is normally on Chris's pistol. I think the one that appears in 3 is probably the best modeled one so far, though, aside from the fact that it's missing the rifling. I'm gonna chalk this one up to an assumption that most of the people working on the Resident Evil games are not gun nerds, and they probably have a folder or a board of images of Beretta 92 pistols, which they reference those photos when modeling the pistol, so it's not unlikely you would end up with some inconsistencies. Okay, great! So we've got several different versions of a customized handgun, but the Beretta 92 FS was in pretty much everything in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Like, for fun, go to IMFDB and just start scrolling through the list of media the 92 series is in.
Oh! Yeah! Fuck yeah! Give us another one! Give us another one! Ah!
So with all those variations, who is to say that Capcom didn't come up with this on their own? Me, I am to say that. I am the one that is saying that right now. This is the Beretta 92G Brigadier Elite. It's a modified version of the Beretta 92 series designed for competition shooting by Ernest Langdon while he was working for Beretta USA in the late 1990s. Like the Samurai Edge, it features a stainless steel barrel, stainless steel guide rod, Brigadier slide with front cocking serrations, lightened and smoothed trigger, and dovetailed front and rear sights. It also featured more of a bevel on the magazine wall than the standard 92 series had, a skeletonized hammer, and magazines with rubberized base plates. Now, I don't know why the Samurai Edge doesn't feature the skeletonized hammer the 92 Elite had, but I suspect it has something to do with the whole image board that I had mentioned earlier. Interestingly, this 92 Elite is based on the G model, which is the decocker only version, as opposed to the decocker and safety lever featured on the 92 FS version. Oh, and, just kind of a minor thing, I think you'll notice it looks a lot like the Jill model of the Samurai Edge. While I was researching the Samurai Edge, I was able to find an article from American Rifleman from September 1999 about the Beretta 92G. But if you'll recall the beginning of the video, on September 22nd, 1999, Capcom released Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. This marked the first appearance of the Samurai Edge pistol. So, the timeline on it being inspired by this real-life pistol is way too tight. And unfortunately, I wasn't really able to find any other articles about it. I spent quite a while digging around various forums from the late 90s, looking through old magazines. Hell, I was about to order a blue book of gun values from 1998 to see if maybe the Elite was in there. And then I thought, why don't I just email Langdon Tactical and ask if they know? So I did. And not only did they reply, but Ernest Langdon himself actually answered all the questions I had. He told me that the 92G Elite was his project at Beretta USA, and it started in 1998. According to him, it took a little convincing to get the leadership at Beretta to give the go-ahead for the project, but winning the 1998 IDPA Indoor Nationals, and then later the 1998 IDPA Nationals, is what really got things rolling. I mean, if your shooting team wins a national competition, people are going to want the gun that won it. There were some photos and articles of the 92G Elite made in late 1998, and I think it's very likely, if not probable, that someone working at Capcom or Tokyo Marui saw either the IDPA Nationals or this advertising literature and based the Samurai Edge in Resident Evil 3 on it. The similarities are just way too strong. In addition to the 92G Elite I also have this Beretta 92G Elite, which is a version customized by Langdon Tactical with their optics cut. When I got it, I had jokingly referred to it as the Samurai Edge, but from 2025. And now, knowing that the original pistol from Resident Evil was most likely inspired by one of the first projects Ernest Langdon worked on, yeah, it pretty much is. Thank you all for watching the video. I would also like to thank Langdon Tactical and Ernest Langdon for helping me out with the questions that I had. I really appreciate it. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave a comment with the star emoji in it so I know how cool you are. And, you know, because stars. Like the video if you did, and subscribe if you'd like to see more weird stuff like this. And if you'd really like to support the channel, you can become a member and get access to members-only videos. Like the one I made to go along with this video, where I just kind of ramble about making my 92G Elite into a clone of the Samurai Edge pistol. Here's a taste of what you could look forward to. The rear sight on the Samurai Edge is this really interesting, almost kind of like a Novak sight, where it's ramped, and then the sight actually ends up sitting slightly farther back than it would normally, so you have your rear sight sitting like here. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.